Reggie's Fine Books brings you the first chapter of The Lucky Ace of France, the World War I combat biography of Georges Guynemer.
Chapter 1. The First Flights. I knew the future ace by name for several months, but I exaggerate, for they did not always pronounce his name the same. Sometimes it was Guynemer, at others Guynemer. I knew from his comrades that this young man, this youth, called for admiration from all who came near him or saw his work. Writing a series on the stirring flights of the war at that time, I had but one desire: to know this pilot of whom everyone already spoke only with respect. He had known how to impress himself upon all by his mastery and boldness. Thanks to some common friends, I was introduced to him one day when he came to get some apparatus at the General Aviation Reserve. In order to conserve, we went to a small café of Bordeaux. I must admit that then, as now, it was forbidden to the military to take alcohol, so our first interview took place back of the shop, with a small glass of cinchona cordial. The violation, you see, was quite innocuous. There were several present. Sergeant Guynemer talked very little before so many. He made vague statements, telling of his fights piecemeal. I was interested, but far from satisfied. By trade, I required more precision, but my talker seems indisposed to speak before so many. "I want to write an article about you," I said to him. He looked at me with those piercing eyes of his, as if he were taking counsel with himself, and after several seconds said, "All right, but on condition that you do not mention my name." Such was his modesty. He would not let me publish a name which soon thereafter was to be pronounced with veneration by the entire world. "With that understanding, let us get close together at another table where we shall be perfectly at ease as we converse." He consented, and seemed to be relieved at not having to talk so publicly. Difficult as he had seemed to interview before, and slow of speech, when we were smoking in each other's faces, he went into all details, told me stories, not omitting a single fact by which we could follow completely his earlier combats. And every time I saw him afterwards I found him thus, rather silent and even taciturn before a gallery, but a brilliant, precise talker when alone with me. As soon as he began to talk aviation, and especially pursuit, he did not stop, and I was always charmed with his conversation. He was inexhaustible, passing from one subject to the other, citing a fight of one of his comrades, admiring the courage of another, protesting with conviction and anger against the lack of knowledge of others, returning to the subject of conversation, and then taking up another. With inexhaustible